Hello and welcome to the Cowboy Chronicles, the Oklahoman's Oklahoma State football podcast. I am your host, Scott Wright, joined today by Joe Masato, our columnist. Joe, thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, man. Good to be on with you, Scott.
Absolutely, you were in Stillwater last Thursday to check out the Cowboys. We'll chat a little bit about that. We'll chat a little bit about this week in Oregon. You won't get to make the trip up with me there, but still an interesting game to discuss. A lot going on with Oklahoma State, so we'll get into all of it. Have the StoneCloud six pack to close things out later, and yeah, so jump in if you want to leave your comments of the score prediction for Oklahoma State and Oregon. Leave those in the comment section, and whenever we get back to StoneCloud, one of these days, I will drink a celebratory beer for all the winners. So for now, we'll move right ahead, Joe, and let's start. Just a real quick top of the head impression of Oklahoma State from Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what stands out most is the quarterback situation and just a real bummer for everyone involved for Hosseini to go down on, a play that no one could really tell, how he got hurt. It seemed to be a thing that, Mike Gundy said yesterday that it just sort of felt funny, and it wasn't just like this play you could look back on and say that's when it got hurt. But you know, I think that Zane Flores came in, did a fine job. I just think the offense looks is going to look a little more limited under him, just because of the running factor that Haney showed off very briefly. And then on the defensive side of the ball, it's hard to tell against UT Martin, but this defense was so bad a year ago that I thought like they were aggressive, they were physical, they tackled well. And even against a lesser opponent, those are all, good things that you can't really take for granted coming off last year.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. We'll get into some more thoughts on the game here in a minute, but a couple of interesting things that have gone on over the last 24 hours or so from the recording of this. One being, have you seen? I don't know if you've seen yet Mike Gundy's new uh, cell phone commercial where he reenacts the "I'm a man, I'm 40 grand." Have you seen it yet?
I have. Our wonderful colleague, Jenny Carlson, played it for me after Brent Venables' presser today. And, she's a little salty, Scott. She thinks she needs to get a cut of whatever Mike Gundy got paid for this commercial. And I'm with her.
I'm not going to disagree with that. That's absolutely she played a part as well. So that is earned. I believe it.
Yeah. What do you
Um,
think of it?
Fantastic. I was impressed at how well he got back into character for it.
Hmm.
I don't fancy Mike Gundy as an actor, but he recreated himself pretty well. I was impressed.
Yeah.
And he's such a loose cannon that that seemed like that would be a tough thing for him to do to just be told what to do and not to ad lib and those sorts of things. I was impressed at his acting skills.
Yeah, speaking of ad lib, that's what he did at his press conference Monday. He flashed us all his chest,
He did, yes.
reenacting uh, a game against Nebraska, how tight the jerseys were and everything. But I think he was just trying to show off his abs.
I, I think
But
that's absolutely what it was. I
yeah,
fully agree.
maybe it coincides with this new commercial. He just wants to put himself out there.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. A little bit of attention. That's all. Speaking of attention, he got some up in Eugene, Oregon, for some comments that he made yesterday. It was funny when I first saw this news coming out about what Dan Lanning had to say in response to Gunny's comments on them spending a lot of money. My immediate thought was he had one very small line referencing their spending in his Monday press conference. Now, I had not listened to the radio show yet. I do that, but usually not till the day after on the recording. So I hadn't checked it out yet, and uh, and so I'm thinking Lanning was upset by that one little line, and obviously start digging in and you find out that Gunny had a lot more to say on his radio show in terms of how much it's going to cost them to keep their quarterback and saying they've spent $40 million on this class. And now he said OSU has spent $7 million the last 3 years. I'm a little curious. I think that might be a little low in terms of what Oklahoma State has actually spent. but we don't know for sure right now based on what nothing being really readily available as far as through an open records request to find out what these guys are making, all that sort of stuff. So, but I that number sounds a little low to me for what Oklahoma State has now. If you don't include the current roster, you go the 3 years before that, I could see that absolutely being accurate. But all that said, any thoughts on any of that? Gundy saying it, Lanning's reaction, what Gundy's motivation might have been in in saying all that, any of that?
Um, I found the whole thing kind of fascinating and like much ado about nothing at the same time,
Yes.
because I still don't have a great gauge of what what Gundy says, like which part of it is going to kind of get attention from those outside Oklahoma and nationally. And like that's one of those things where it's kind of just Gundy being Gundy, and you don't know if it's gonna pick up attention like it did. I don't know about the 7 million number. I don't know about the 40 million number, and I highly doubt Mike Gundy knows about that number. He's just throwing things out there with Oregon obviously has Phil Knight, some big money donors. So yeah, I thought Lanning brought up a good point. Like OSU probably spends more than UT Martin does, um, but I didn't really think like I saw some story with the headline. It's like they trade barbs. I don't really think it was trading barbs. Like I don't think Gundy did anything to insult Lanning or Oregon. I just think he was trying to put in perspective kind of the haves versus the have nots in college football today. But I don't know. Isn't this what revenue sharing is supposed to fix? Like, I know there's still going to be NIL on top of revenue sharing, but the idea is that all these, power programs are going to be on relatively equal footing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, we'll see, what that looks like if there's still an additional 20 million for a program like Oregon to go spend after the revenue sharing cap, whatever that ends up being for each individual university. Obviously, 20.5 million is the number across the country, but that's for all sports. So, Oklahoma State, I'm guessing based on conversations. I think Oklahoma State is probably around 75% of that going toward football. So yeah, so they're not going to be at 20, and I don't know that all programs are in terms of the specific revenue sharing. It's going to
Yeah.
be what happens beyond that. But yeah, I do think it will even the playing field somewhat in more respects than what we have right now, for sure. Because Oklahoma State is, if Mike Gundy's 7 million over 3 years number is right, he's going to have a whole lot more money to be spending. Once they've got the full revenue share, so that's going to be a very different situation. The one thing that I don't get, and I don't even know that it's really possible. For one, these schedules are planned out so far in advance. The idea that you need to play somebody that has a similar budget to you, I mean, I don't understand the idea behind that. Everybody's playing lower level teams at least a couple of times a year, and then like I said, these Power Four games are scheduled so far in advance. You have no idea. I mean, when this OSU Oregon game was put on the schedule, we hadn't NIL wasn't even a thing yet. So it's like
Hmm.
for trying to project that and align teams financially and who they're playing would have to have a completely different makeup of college football that looks like the NFL, where the schedule is comes out in January or February for that year, and it's got all your non-conference and conference games, whatever. So
Yeah, it just fluctuates way too much too. Like all of a sudden, Texas Tech's spending a ton of money. They haven't
yeah,
always done that. So you're going to see random schools rise and fall, and there's going to be normal ebbs and flows. And we mentioned revenue sharing and how that will hopefully even the playing field, but you're still going to have maybe some under the table still gonna, there's still gonna be donors involved even to go above that, whatever the cap is. So um, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you can't have, hey, our budgets are within $5 million of each other. Let's play. You're gonna have to be the Tampa Bay Rays of college ball and figure it out.
yeah, Exactly. All right, I want to do one quick overreaction segment here before we move on to we'll chat just briefly about the Oregon game, the game itself, and then we'll get on to the StoneCloud six pack. But overreactions from the OSU season opener against UT Martin, a 27-7 win. Now, this can be something that you an overreaction that you embrace, or one that you've seen that you disagree with. I'm good either way. So whatever you want to go with, Joe, I'm all for it.
I don't have a specific one, but my overreaction is Brian McCoy Jr. and Brandon Rawls are really good players, and
Yeah,
they put up big stats, big tackle numbers, but I just think the way Gundy talks about both those guys is buying into the OSU culture. Both mature guys who, McCoy spent several years at Akron. Rawls comes in from Saginaw Valley State. They're new guys, but they're already leaders on this team. And that's the perfect position for them to be at, as kind of captains of the defense, basically. So I'm not going to say they're going to make all Big 12 or anything, but I think my overreaction from game one, and they could be terrible against Oregon, is that the Cowboys found them two pretty good linebackers with those guys.
yeah, I can totally understand that. I don't know if you got to visit with Brian McCoy Jr.
I did,
Yesterday.
yeah.
His maturity definitely exudes when you sit and talk to him face to face. I was very impressed in having a brief conversation with him. So mine is more on the negative side. So for Oklahoma State fans, I hope I'm wrong, but I look at that offensive line. I don't know that they're any better than they were a year ago, and I think that's a major concern. You know, it needs to be an overreaction as far as the success of this team, but that's a scary thing when you come out of a game against an FCS opponent and you're concerned about your lack of physicality on the offensive line. That's an area where even if you're making some mistakes, you should be overpowering your opponent and be the more physical team. So that's a definite concern, and especially going into this Oregon game, they've got you're going to face some real athletes on the defensive line. You need your offensive line to be opening some holes and protecting Zane Flores and all of these things. So something definitely to watch going forward, and in particular after this week, because I even if they play better, they still might be overmatched this week. But you get into the Tulsa game and then into Big 12 play, they've really got to be holding their own a lot more so than they did on Thursday night.
And an even bigger concern with Flores at quarterback, right? Because a less mobile guy who's going to be in the pocket more, who needs to be protected more than Haney, who could just take off and run when everything breaks down. So yeah, it's interesting because, like, covering OU and OSU, both teams that played FCS opponents in week one, neither of them ran the ball well. And you can say, yeah, the offense was vanilla, but that doesn't stop you from beating the guy in front of you at the line of scrimmage, even if the schemes are simple. So that's just a case where OSU should have overpowered UT Martin more than they did.
Yep, I agree. Let's turn it to the Oregon game, and you wrote a great column this week that touched on something that I think is really important for this team. What does a win look like in Eugene? What did you come away with as being maybe the main one or two things that really stuck out to you?
Yeah, the first thing was, Zane Flores, and, like, does he look composed? How does he handle the crowd, the situation? His first start being on the road at Autzen Stadium, um, you know, something you can't really quantify, but especially you being there, you'll be able to see. Um, and I'm not talking about, like, oh, he misses a throw here or there. It's just like, what does his control of the offense, command of the offense look like in such a hostile environment? Even if OSU loses, even if they lose big, I still think there's a situation where you could come away encouraged by what Zane Flores showed in such a big spot, or it could go the other way.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I think just an aspect of looking for significant stretches of the game like you belong on the field, I think
Hmm.
is could be very valuable to this team. If this thing goes like the Colorado game last year, where you're down 21 to nothing before you feel like you've even been on the field, and you're just never in the game, that's I think that's the worst possible outcome. But even if you get blown away, but if you're say you're down 10, 5 minutes into the third quarter, and then it gets out of hand, goes crazy.
Hmm.
Like if you can hold your own for a good long stretch of this game, or a couple stretches, I think that has more value to this team than just about anything. Uh, Obviously, short of a victory. So uh, I think looking like you belong on the field for a good chunk of this thing is going to be really important to this team.
Yeah, and another one I wrote about was establishing the run game. We touched on that, something they were unable to do in week one. So asking them to do it against Oregon is a big ask. And this is kind of a scary number. Montana State, which they're always in the FCS semifinals or finals, playing for national championships. They rushed the ball 27 times for 46 yards, so less than 2 yards per carry against this Oregon team in week one. And again, that's an elite or usually elite FCS team. So I think if OSU's O line can't get more of a push, um, than they did against UT Martin, it's obviously going to look even worse. But at the same time, if they found some stuff on film, if they cleaned some things up, and all of a sudden they're rushing for 3.5, maybe even pushing 4 yards per carry, that would be awfully encouraging.
Yep, I agree. All right, with that, let's jump into the StoneCloud six pack. We got three topics for the Oregon game, and then the draft, which is tangentially related to the Oregon and Oklahoma State game. So let's jump into it. Where it's true false for the first three, nice and easy. 50-50 shot, allegedly. Number one, true or false, Joe? Oregon will cover the spread. I haven't looked today. It was up to 28 and a half yesterday. I should have checked again here before the show, but opened up at 23 and a half and moved very quickly upwards, and 28 and a half, I think, is the most recent number, but I could be wrong there. But
Let's
we'll say, for the sake of the game, 28 and a half, unless you've got something more recent.
No, I think it is. I think it is 28 and a half. I'm going to say false. Oregon will not cover the spread because the score I sent in, and if it's still 28 and a half, I said 38-10. So I'm right at that 28 number, Scott.
Right at the number. Now you got me having to do math over here. So I'm also in the false category with my score as well. So I'll go ahead and go false on that one. So 24 points is the spread that I have on my score. So we'll go with
Just a random note because we were talking about this before the press conference. Uh, I reached out to the fine folks at BetMGM to just see if they had a database of, is this the longest odds a Gundy team has faced, since he took over in 2005, and it's actually third. So '05 Texas, they were more of an underdog. That was Gundy's first season. Vince Young. And then 2014, which was Mason Rudolph's first start, is at Baylor. Baylor was, top 10 team that year. OSU covered, or I guess you could say Texas and Baylor did not cover in
Mhm.
those games. So maybe, history will repeat. And if so, we're on the right side of this, Scott.
That's exactly right. All right, moving on to number two. True or false? Zane Flores will attempt at least 40 passes. Obviously, we're both predicting OSU to be down and potentially down big for chunks of this game. 40 passes. True, or 40 plus? True or false?
Yeah, I'm gonna say false. I think it'll be fewer than 40. I think they're gonna have to try to run the ball, and at the same time, if the game does get out of hand, it might be so out of hand that there's really no point in just passing every play, trying to get back into it. Like they might just try to run their offense and find some things. So I'll go under 40.
I can absolutely see that happen. However, I am going the opposite direction. I think that in hopes of opening up the run game, they come out and throw a lot of short, quick
Yeah.
passes. Try not to put too much pressure on the offensive line in terms of either the run game or potential sacks. Get the ball out quickly. Get a lot of completions early for Zane. Try to get him some confidence, and I think eventually that number goes up and climbs over a 40. But I could absolutely see them finding the value in trying to shorten the game and run the ball and try to just stick with the offense that they want to run. All right, number three, true or false? OSU will cause at least 2 turnovers. We saw them with an interception against UT Martin. Will they get to 2 picks and or fumbles?
Uh, no, they will not. I think they might get another one. Dante Moore doesn't have a ton of experience at
Right.
quarterback, so maybe they get another pick. Who knows? But if they do get 2 or more, though, I feel even better about the Cowboys covering.
Yep, I'm going false on that one as well. I don't think they'll get there. I think that their best chance to create some turnovers is with the pass rush. We saw what Wendell Gregory was able to do. We do expect him to be at the game and participating. Aside from his arrest over the weekend from an incident in May. Very complicated thing, but I think that this has all been handled internally, and there's no further punishment coming for him as far as I can see at this point. So I think you got him, you got Malik Charles, you got some of those other defensive ends that will have an opportunity to go make some plays, but all that said, this Oregon offensive line is really talented. They've got some guys up there that are going to be NFL draft picks next spring. So,
Mhm.
going to be a real challenge for those guys to try to get back there, and that's why I ultimately think they end up coming up short of the 2 turnovers. All right, Joe. Any other thoughts on this game before we move on to the draft?
No, I'm I'm looking forward to it. I really am, just to see what Oshi looks like, and hope you guys have an awesome time in Eugene.
I'm really excited about seeing this atmosphere and being up there. This is a long time coming for me. Back in 2006, was that when OU went up there and
I think
at
that's right. Yeah,
the
the
referee
onside
stuff?
kick.
I was originally supposed to go cover that game,
Ooh,
and a little switcheroo happened with scheduling because of some flights that had been booked previously and before I got moved onto the OU beat at the time, and so I did not get to go. The funny thing was I was told when they were moving me to the OU beat that year, they said it's a great year. The football team goes to Oregon, the basketball team goes to Hawaii. It's going to be a great year to travel. I didn't get to go on either trip. Those are the only 2 trips I
uh,
didn't go on in my 2 years on the OU beat, but I didn't get to go on either trip. So I'm at least getting one of those back now. So I'm happy for that.
yeah.
All right.
Unfortunately, I don't see a Hawaii trip in your future, at least work wise.
Not a work trip, that's for sure. Unless the Big 12 somehow can align with whatever bowl is being
Yeah,
played
the
in
Aloha Bowl.
the Aloha Bowl or something. So that's my best chance. All right, let's move to the draft. The theme that brought the draft topic along was the uniform matchup that we've got, and it was funny. I actually wrote about this in 2008. I was on the OSU beat that year. They played Oregon in the Holiday Bowl, and I did a big thing in the lead up to the game about the incredible uniform matchup. Oregon was early in their stages of all the variety of uniforms. Oklahoma State was just sort of getting into that a little bit. They hadn't gone full in yet for a couple more years, but they were doing some stuff. So, very bright colors and all these sorts of things that I wrote about. Then we show up and Oregon wears all black with very dark green helmets, and OSU wears all white in that game, and really ruined what I thought was going to be a fantastic uniform matchup. But who knows what'll happen this week? I think we could have a better chance at something interesting, and it's happening at the same time as back here in Oklahoma. You've got 2 traditional, stalwarts of the uniform world, with OU and Michigan playing on Saturday as well. Kind of fascinating juxtaposition of all of that. Anyway, all that to say, the draft is our favorite uniforms, Joe. Favorite uniforms of all time can be pro, can be college. You can go with a high school choice if you guys at the Mount were rocking something you were really proud of. Feel free to fire it out there. But 3-round draft and your of your favorite uniforms. And Joe, the first pick is yours.
Well, that's awfully kind of you, Scott. I'm going to go with my favorite college football uniform, and that is the LSU home whites. I think it's a cool tradition that they wear the white jerseys at home, uh, the yellow helmets, yellow pants, with the yellow and purple stripes on the shoulder pads. I just think it's like a clean, iconic look, and I've always been a fan of that.
That's a really good one. Not I like a good unique tradition, and that's a fun one. So
Yeah.
big fan of that. My first one, as I said, this can be any sport. This will be the only time I venture out of football, most likely. But as you can see behind me, lots of Cubs gear on the wall. I've actually got on my Ryan Sandberg salute
Nice.
T-shirt right now, and so I'm going with my favorite jersey from the Ryan Sandberg, or my favorite uniform from the Ryan Sandberg era, which was the blue top that had the red, white, and blue on the collar and
Hmm.
the sleeves, just the big C Cubs logo on the chest. This was a very difficult decision. You can see okay, there I've got the Wrigley, or I'm sorry, the Chicago Tribune cover from the World Series. They had a blue top, gray pants for that one that I was a big fan of, and of course the pinstripes are legendary. So it was a tough decision to find my favorite Cubs jersey of all time, and that's the one I settled on.
Well, I've got a lot of uniforms on my list, but I'm going to counter with another baseball jersey. Controversial, it's probably going to be, but I grew up a Yankees fan. I loved Derek Jeter. The pinstripes are iconic. I
Mhm.
also like the New York gray road uniforms, but I'll go with the home pinstripes for the New York Yankees, um, mainly because you just went with the Cubs.
I'm especially a fan of the grays now that they've taken the white off, and it's just the blue writing on
Yeah.
there. That was a good choice. Big fan of that. I had a feeling the Yankee pinstripes were going to appear at some point during this draft. All right, my second pick, going back to football, I'm going with one that was huge during my childhood. I was a big fan of it back then, and it occasionally makes reappearances now in a throwback style. The Philadelphia Eagles, Kelly Green,
Yeah.
with the white and the gray trim. Sometimes they'll do gray pants. They always did back in the day. So that was the uniform that I fell in love with. I'm a Colts fan, but I find Colts uniforms very boring. They're like old and traditional in kind of a boring way. There's not a
Yeah.
lot of excitement about them. So, but the Eagles Kelly Green was always one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the best from the NFL ranks. For my last pick, I'm going to the hardwood, and I picked purple and gold to start with LSU. Listen, I've never been a Lakers fan, but the yellow, the purple and yellow, especially the yellow jerseys and shorts with the purple writing and that Lakers script, uh, I think it's a great look, and maybe picking the Yankees and picking the Lakers. I feel kind of icky about it,
Uh,
um, but it's hard to beat that Lakers jersey.
no, I agree. I totally understand. Um, I, I love all the different color combinations
Yeah,
that they do. Even the white ones, the purple ones. I love them
yeah.
all.
The white ones that they wear on Sundays are really cool. The purple ones, you kind of have the throwback to like the Showtime Lakers, where it's got like the big like superimposed backgrounds on the numbers. So I like that too. Um, but yeah, what's your last pick, Scott?
You know what? You helped me make my decision. I was down to a couple of different options. I'm going to go basketball as well, and I'm going to go with a Thunder uniform. And before I say it, I want to know. I'm curious. Do you have either a favorite or a least favorite of all the Thunder uniforms that they've worn over the years?
I think my favorite is really any variation of the sunset jerseys. I just
Mhm.
think it's a good look when they go all in on the orange with the navy blue OKC across. They had these like alternate all gray uniforms once. Those were probably my least favorite. But
Mhm.
which one are you thinking about?
The Memorial Edition
Yeah,
was
those are
was
good.
my favorite of their alternates. The the sunset, especially the original sunset that had just the big OKC
Yeah.
with the white outline back in the Westbrook days. I really like that one, but I'm with you. I like all the sunsets that they've done over the years. Um, I I really wish they could come up with a really good Navy option.
Hmm.
They haven't really hit it out of the park. There was one good one that seemed like it was very short lived, with like an orange OKC and some trim.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
But
like the one they wore in the Paul George era, I
right.
guess, where it's like the kind of shaken script.
Hmm.
But going back to the old days, they had that weird navy one with the vertical
It's like
thunder.
thunder straight down the side there. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was really excited when it came out and it was a navy blue option because I thought that
Yeah,
was going to be a great alternate look, and then it was just I didn't
not the
didn't understand
best.
what they were going for there. All right, Joe. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in here to watch and listen to the Cowboy Chronicles. Go and drop your score predictions in the comments, and we will be back after Oregon to talk about Tulsa next week. Thanks for joining us.